Sometimes the best way to really understand a story is to just drop right into the middle of the action. So for this explainer, we're going to deconstruct one single, super intense chapter to see how it builds its world, defines its unique rules, and just throws its heroes into a total crisis that spirals way out of control.
And we're starting right here, smack in the heart of that crisis. You can just feel the panic and confusion, right? A plan has gone completely sideways, and a desperate prayer seems to have made everything worse. So how in the world did we get here? Let's back up just a couple of minutes. So it all kicks off with a pretty simple decision. We've got two boys, Evan and Rev, and they realize they're under some kind of strange, invisible attack. But instead of running away, they decide to stand their ground and fight back.
Now, this is what I find so interesting. Their choice of weapon. We're not talking about some epic fantasy battle with magic swords. Nope. This whole thing starts on a quiet side street with two kids pulling out their pocket knives. It feels so real, almost mundane, until they give these simple tools a whole new meaning.
And there it is. That one line kind of lays out the core concept of their world. This battle isn't physical. Evan just declares that their knives are now spiritual swords. He's imbuing them with his intent. They're not trying to cut something you can see. They're trying to cut through a spiritual attack.
So their strategy is this really cool mix of the mystical and the, well, practical. It's part prayer, part spiritual warfare. They call on a higher power, Archangel Michael, and their goal is to literally slice through Rev's aura to get rid of this white fog that's being created by these things they call foggers.
And here's the turn. Their direct approach, this prayer to chop up the foggers, it doesn't work at all. In fact, it makes everything 1,000 times worse. They basically just announce themselves to an enemy that up until now was pretty much just ignoring them. Oh yeah, and the consequences are immediate. The foggers are furious. Their eyes start glowing brighter, they're making this creepy squeaking sound, and suddenly there are way more of them. And the worst part? Now they can actually attack, lashing out with these whip-like tails. So yeah, the fight is over, now it's a chase. All right, so let's get to the second act of this whole mess. The boys are not the attackers anymore. Now they're the prey, and they're running for their lives from the swarming, invisible enemy. And here's where we get a huge clue about the world building. As they're running, they see more and more of these creatures just streaming out of a local candy store. The link couldn't be clearer. This spiritual enemy, these foggers, are tied directly to sugar. You gotta love the dark humor in this moment. Rev gets it. He realizes the massive scale of their problem. They didn't just annoy a few stray spirits, they's pretty much declared war on an entire spiritual ecosystem that's fueled by something you can find everywhere: candy. Okay, so their first plan was a total bust. The pocket knives are obviously useless against a swarm this big, so they have to pivot fast. Survival isn't about fighting anymore, it's about outsmarting the horde. The new plan? Containment. Their new destination is a church just up the street. The plan is a classic bait and switch: lure the entire swarm inside and then trap them. You can see the steps here. Rev goes in first and hides, and Evan is the bait, drawing all the foggers in so Rev can slam the door behind them. It's a crazy risk that needs perfect timing. But here's the thing. Trapping them is only step one. They know they can't handle this alone. The church isn't just a trap. It's where they hope to find an ally, someone with the kind of spiritual firepower they desperately need. And so they do it. They burst into the sanctuary. And instantly, this quiet, holy space is turned into a chaotic battlefield. The one place that was supposed to be safe is now under a full-blown, otherworldly siege. And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The difference between their attempt and what their ally, Lord Blue, does is just night and day. The boys had tiny knives and just made the swarm mad. He's got a 5-foot sacred sword, and he stops the entire horde cold with a single word and a stamp of his foot. The power gap is just staggering. So what was that word he used? Vajra? It's not just a random sound, it's a core concept in this world. It's a declaration of spiritual authority. It's basically saying, I belong here, I have the right to be here, and I have the power to act. And just saying it is enough to stun the enemy and establish total dominance. And just listen to the difference in the prayers. The boys' prayer was desperate, almost like a panicked order. Lord Blue's, on the other hand, is a formal, confident command.
He isn't really asking for help, he's summoning reinforcements that he knows are going to show up.
The effect is just immediate and devastating. That sacred sword doesn't just push the foggers back, it completely annihilates them. They just burst into showers of sparks and glittering dust on contact. For a second there, it really looks like the fight is over.
But this enemy is smart. It's adaptive. Faced with total destruction, the foggers don't just run, they evolve. And that leads to the final, absolutely terrifying escalation of this fight. Okay, this is such a brilliant twist. Instead of scattering and trying to escape, the ones that are left do the exact opposite. They swarm together, pressing into each other, and begin this horrifying transformation that's born from pure desperation. Just when you think the good guys have won, the enemy levels up. You can almost feel the pressure building here. All those individual squeals from the swarm rise into this one single, painful, high-pitched note. The fog compacts and hardens until it's not a swarm anymore. It's one single giant monster with these massive, burning red suns for eyes. They've literally created a boss monster right there in the church. And just when you think you finally understand the rules, the story flips the whole thing on its head. The reason for that transformation becomes terrifyingly clear. This new creature is on a completely different level, and their ally, the one who seemed invincible just a few seconds ago, is suddenly and shockingly overpowered. The defeat is swift and just brutal. This sacred sword, their ultimate weapon, is torn right out of Lord Blue's hands. He's slammed to the ground and silenced. The protector is down, and the situation is way, way worse than it ever was before. And that's where the chapter leaves us. The boys managed to lure the enemy into a trap, they found an all-powerful ally, they watched him beat the Horde, only to see that same enemy transform into something new and defeat their savior. They are right back at square one, trapped with a monster that just took down their only hope. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. What could they possibly do now?